Lisa Jackson, and we're here with TAAN TV. I'm here with my special guest, Miss Elizabeth Eckford. I'm in the presence of greatness. In case you didn't know, Miss Eckford is one of the 1957 Little Rock Nine. They integrated the schools in Little Rock, Arkansas. So when I say I'm in the presence of greatness, I really mean that. And I want to say thank you, first off, for everything you've done. I could not be here today doing what I do, and none of us could be here today doing what we do if you hadn't had the courage to do what you've done. And so I want to start off with that. With so much going on in the world today, we need young people to voice their opinions. We need young people to make the difference. And at such a young age, you decided to do that. Can you tell me how you were able to make those decisions?
Even though I knew my parents couldn't afford to send me to college, and my older sister, I was brought up with the understanding that I would go to college. Yes. My grandfather, who's most influential in our family, would say things like, "Elizabeth, when you go to college." So I knew that I needed scholarships, and I wanted to be as well prepared as possible. And I knew in a segregated system, the best of what was available would be available at a white high school. So that's why I wanted to go to Central.
Mm-hmm. So did anyone try to talk you out of that, or did you have just a support system?
I call my mother the Queen of No.
Okay.
Because the superintendent intended a limited token desegregation plan. He even asked the principals of the Negro junior high school and high school to discourage many of the 85 students who signed up to go. And further, he said that those selected by him could not participate in any extracurricular activity. This didn't matter to me because I wasn't going to participate in anything. Bertie Eckford's kids would not be in any after-school program. They would be at home.
Yes, ma'am. So they did even put, let me see, that's a part of the story that we didn't know. Mm-hmm. So you're going to integrate the school, and that's it. They didn't want another battle.
We were really talking about desegregation. There was no intention to for us to be included in a regular school.
Right, right. See, they've been using the wrong term, and that's what I'm saying. They didn't want a second battle. They just wanted to desegregate, but they didn't want to actually integrate.
They wanted the minimum compliance with the law, very, very minimum.
Compliance with the law.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they do that today.
Mm-hmm.
But if your mother was the Queen of No, so why didn't she say no to this one?
Well, you know something that was surprising? I knew that I had to have permission from both parents,
yes,
and that they would discuss it. But she said, "We'll see." Mm-hmm. "We'll see" prevailed from spring well into the summer, to the point where the names of students selected to go to Central were published in the newspaper. And I told my parents it was almost too late. We had to talk to the superintendent. And I really think that I was the last one selected.
So was that dangerous, though? I'm thinking of that time period to put your names in the paper like that.
Yes, it was. That opened the families up to economic reprisal.
Right.
My father worked late at night at the train station, and I didn't know for many years what was happening there, and I didn't know that some railroad workers were part of an organized opposing group. When he was interviewed close to the 40th anniversary, he revealed that there were men walking around with shotguns, even though it wasn't hunting season.
Oh my Lord.
But he would take me to school the following morning anyway. Mm-hmm. So it didn't dissuade him from supporting me.
So that's another layer of it all. You guys did the desegregation, but whole families actually participated in the desegregation.
Yes.
It's not just a student. I think even outside of even school integration, just any civil rights activity at that time involved the whole parents. I do believe John Lewis was talking something about that, that he had to move away because they were threatening or something to his family. So your parents were walking it with you.
Yes, my mother worked for the Arkansas School for the Negro, Deaf, and Blind, where my brother also went to school. And at the end of the school year, she was not rehired. That hurt her tremendously, not because of the wages loss, but because she wasn't available to see what was going on with my brother.
Yeah. So you had a brother that was attending that school?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so there, yeah, they try to destroy you economically to keep you from,
And some
from moving
parents,
forward.
in some instances, both the mother and the father lost their jobs.
Mhm.
I remember Gloria Ray's mother, who had 2 degrees, was reduced to, her only option was to work as a housemaid. So they moved to Kansas.
It's amazing.
In the end, several families had to leave
Right,
because there was no way to support themselves.
right. Let's talk about this iconic photo of you. Everyone knows the photo of you
Mm-hmm.
alone
Yes.
in a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen?
Well, I didn't know of any plan for a group of students to be accompanied by a minister. There were 3 of us who set out alone. I rode the bus to school. Minnie Jean Brown told me that when she was walking to Central, she encountered her minister along with other ministers, and they asked her to join them. Terrence Roberts, who lived within 5 blocks of Central High School, showed up alone.
Mhm.
While the attention was focused on me, he had been turned away by the National Guard, and he stopped and asked me to accompany him. I knew he lived so close to the school that I would have 28 blocks to walk alone.
Wow.
I felt I would be safer on the bus
Mhm.
than to be out there alone where there would be fewer witnesses as to what might happen to me in that long walk home.
Yeah, you had to keep your wits about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's another part of it. We're asking very young people to think like adults and keep their wits about them.
Part of the civil rights movement was accomplished by children because I remember in Alabama there was a children's march where adults had been jailed and their ability to take care of their families was in jeopardy. And so the children voluntarily went out. That's where you saw the dogs attacking the
Yes,
children,
yeah.
the water hoses
Yes.
knocking them down. So initially it was self-selection. Then you had to get your parents' permission, and then you had to get acceptance by the superintendent.
Okay. And so do you know what the criteria was when you said the
Oh, he
superintendent?
only announced 2 criteria, that those selected had to be good students and they couldn't be troublemakers. But in my experience, what was a troublemaker in the 1950s? Somebody who chewed gum,
Yes.
talk out of turn in class,
Uh-huh.
maybe somebody who had a fist fight on the schoolyard.
Yes.
I didn't know what real violence was until I went to Central High School.
Now, had your community, since you said that, had you grown up in a community with white people there and
Yes,
not
yes, because
experiencing?
I lived in an older section of Little Rock where the houses that had been built individually, one ethnic group was very close to another. In many parts of Little Rock, there weren't barriers like across the holler or across the pond or across the railroad tracks separating the groups. There was at the end of my block, there was an all-white development that had been built all at once. But in other parts of the neighborhood, whites lived very close to blacks without separation.
So this was a shock to see your actual
No.
neighbors.
Yes. But when I
out
saw
like
my
that.
neighbors at school, I saw fear that said, "Don't let them know you know me."
See, wow. Yeah, that's the thing about a small community, to see your actual neighbors become your enemy. Amazing. Miss Eckford, so I've got about 2 minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to tell the world about your experience?
Well, one lesson that I learned in Little Rock at that time, we didn't hear from the usual leadership of the community. We didn't hear from the Chamber of Commerce type people, business leaders. In the White Citizens Council, their spokespeople were preachers and attorneys. But the rest of the community was silent except for the opposition.
Wow.
Until later, after 44 teachers and administrators had been fired because it was thought that they had been sympathetic to desegregation, and after all high schools had been closed, where people had voted to close them rather than desegregate them, the cost of that, it took a while for people to understand and the ramifications. that no new industry moved in Arkansas for 10 years. But the messages that I want people to learn are in The Worst First Day, Bullied While Desegregating Central High School, because it points out what happens when people are silent, what happens when they are bystanders, that they get a better understanding of what that means.
Right.
Martin Luther King said that one of the things that hurts the most is when our friends are silent.
Yes, evil prevails. I have been in the presence of greatness here, and I want to make sure you guys pick up this book. She's here promoting the book, and this is The Worst First Day. I think this is a great read. You guys need to check it out. I'm here with Miss Elizabeth Eckford. She is part of the 1957 desegregation of Central
High School in Little Rock, Arkansas.
In Little Rock, Arkansas. And you've been watching TAAN TV.